3, 2, 1.
Hey guys, my name is Nikki Grillo, and today I'm going to be talking about my project, Dogfish Head Craft Brewery meets Delaware Technical Community College. I will be going into how I approach this assignment and the different modules I used to make this happen. Everyone has worked with GIOI 0, so I will not go into this too much. However, that was the primary module I used to create my application. As a side note, I'm going through computer engineering or computer science in order to better understand databases, as ultimately I want to work with database analysis or database administration. I already have my degree in finance, so I wanted to utilize the two together in order to best serve my needs. So I researched different capabilities of push buttons on GUI 0 and how they function. Could be their functions can be utilized as a command to create an efficient application for the user. The goal of my project was essentially to create an application that was a survey application, and then afterwards, whatever I picked would go to a specific graph to show what the individual liked. So essentially, the people that were looking at these surveys could analyze the data and best pick beers that they could send to other bars, etc. So in this case, I created 3 button boxes with with 2 buttons each that only became visible when the function called for it after the previous button had been clicked. So I will show you that right now. At the top right here, I'll run my button around. You can see from GUI's import stars. That's all the submodules of GUI 0. And then I'm going to take you down to our push buttons. And right here, you could see that these are where I created all my push buttons. And this is the buttons box right here. I have 3 of them. And you could see that in each push button, I called not only the buttons box, but the command survey. And then it has a specific text to figure out what it was being called. You'll also see it says visible equals false. That's because in the function I actually call for them to become true or false. So each button box also corresponds to a specific text, as the survey first asks about a preference on beer, and then the user clicks on their favorite, and that leads to a next set of buttons with the next question. So that would be actually right down here as well, right above your my push buttons. You're going to see first the app, which creates the window, and then it's also going to create the text display. And so this display are called at certain points and my function with my push buttons as well. So they kind of correspond to each other, and that's labeled within my function. The first, again, if you take a look, I put them all as either visible or true or false, and then they get called when I work with them later in my application. Originally, and I also wanted to let you guys know, so when you start my application, you also see a hello and welcome to Dogfish Head meets DTC. I actually started it first because sometimes it takes a little while to load, and I wanted to make sure that for all intents and purposes for this video, you were able to see it. So to create the output of the bar graph, that took a lot of time and effort. At first, I spent a lot of time trying to figure out the proper way to create a CSV from the responses and then sending it to an offline Plotly. However, I discovered that the most simple way of doing this was going to be working with Matplotlib and NumPy, and then I could just instantaneously send that response to the bar graph through the function after the survey took place. So before, when I was working on this function, there was actually a good amount of imports right there. And I ended up picking NumPy and Matplotlib as the best way to go about creating this bar graph for my function. So NumPy and Matplotlib are great data visualization modules, and they help create applications that show specific data. Usually they're utilized for companies that want to track their marketing and clicks, or I saw a lot of uses for them in the financial world when it came to graphing stocks and their trends. Within the function, one of the last if statements, I call the bar graph, and then I'm able to label the bar graph's x's and y axes. I'll go down so you guys can see that right here. as well as show the data as clicked by the user. So I'll go further into this. This is the main function. I called it survey. And essentially what it does is once you click a button, other buttons become visible as well as the different text. And it kind of takes you through all the different buttons till you reach the end where you get the bar graph. Otherwise, we'll show that it's not working. So let's begin. So first you're going to click begin survey, and then I like 60-minute, and I like Sequench, and I like American Beauty. And here we go. I'm just going to click this out a little bit. And here I go, 60, Sequench, and American Beauty. I hope you guys enjoyed my project. I will say that my biggest challenge is I faced with the project was first time management, as I am doing 4 classes right now. So it was really difficult for me to figure out the best way to appropriate my time, especially with all the other projects that I have going on right now. Additionally, for me, it was thinking about how I was going to approach this, as there were so many different ways to do this that, like, at first I was like, maybe I should import the data into to stream the data and then have the application read it and then put it into a graph. Or should I, use Plotly offline instead of Matplotlib? And so there's so many things you could do with all these applications. It took me a while to figure out the best way of going about showing my results the way I wanted to. I think that additionally, programming was a little difficult for me because I'm so much more of a numbers person. So for me, like, to understand a function, I think of like x, y equals a certain number, and then you kind of use that number to figure out what x and y are. Where in functions, a variable can very well be just a 60-minute IPA, and that could be called, and that's what it is. So I think that the rational and the rational way of thinking about things sometimes really got to me. So it took me a while to figure out the best way of going about doing things. Overall, this programming project was probably one of the more difficult things I've ever done in my life, but it was so gratifying to finally get it. All my roommates actually made fun of me because I was, sitting there just fist pumping in the air saying, yes, I got it, when I finally figured out the function that made sense and got the whole program running. And it really was a process where it took building one small detail after the other. And I'm someone that's a huge big picture person. So for me to just sit there and just build on slowly was a huge feat. But I really did enjoy doing everything with this project. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you.